What's your reason for not wanting or having children? I can barely afford taking care of myself. I barely get by working full-time and OT. A kid would ruin me financially. I make $60,000 per year, after taxes that's $40,800. After paying for housing and bills, my actual income one get to keep in a good year is like $5,000. I don't make enough to afford to have a child. Just never wanted them. No specific reason, just not interested. I think that's pretty valid. It's like asking, why don't you like onions? I don't know, I just don't. It's how my brain was wired. Onions taste good when sautéed. Kids, not so much. I would like to know how they were seasoned to not like them. They seem expensive and sticky. My husband used to joke that he wanted to start a parenting blog called, Why Is This Sticky? When my kids were little, there were always random sticky surfaces all over the house and no one knew why. Little kids are constantly snotty, sticky, damp, or breaking stuff. They get less messy as they get older, then they're smelly and sullen instead. My stinky, back-talking adolescents are simultaneously a pain in my ass and the best things that ever happened to me. I don't recommend parenting to anyone who doesn't desperately want kids. I enjoy the freedom and flexibility of my current lifestyle, and I feel fulfilled without the responsibility of raising children. That's what I always think about whenever this topic comes up. Do I even need children in my life? Are they gonna make me fulfilled? Exactly, when you have children you can't go anywhere without them unless you get a babysitter. For the first 5 years of their life they cry at the drop of a hat. I'm too mentally ill. Yup. Sometimes, you have to be honest with yourself. Who would have also suffered are the children because of that. This is a concern of mine as well. I was raised by a narcissist and an enabler, history of this on both sides of my family. I have depression/anxiety/OCD/ADHD. My husband is dyslexic with some trauma/anxiety from family history of alcoholism/domestic violence on both sides of his family. He doesn't remember large chunks of his childhood. It doesn't seem right to have kids because of those risk factors. And also, in this economy? I've honestly never had a partner I could count on to co-parent with me despite them all wanting children. I'm not interested in ever being a single mother, especially with how things are going. If you have a partner who doesn't pull their weight, you are going to have a miserable time. Take a look on Instagram/TikTok to see countless parents brimming with resentment over how much they are expected to do on their own because their partner just doesn't help. I do most of the childcare for our 3 small kids, and I do most all of the cooking, but my husband works like a madman to take care of most everything else: laundry, yard work, cleaning, cats. You have to work as a team to get through parenting with your sanity intact, especially during the intensive young years. If your partner is lazy around the house before you have kids, or doesn't do much of anything to take care of your pets and leaves it all to you, do not expect them to magically be industrious after you have them. If you want kids, pick the person you have them with very, very carefully. I have genetic bipolar disorder. Though I found treatment. I would never wish such an illness and the struggle of finding the best treatment that comes with it. I have a connective tissue disorder that's genetic. My kid would have a 50-50 shot of getting it and developing widespread chronic pain like I have, and many other issues. There are enough kids waiting to be adopted. I don't need to add another to the world who has a good chance of suffering. No financial ability, no support network, family, and no desire to raise a child. I have little patience for children and can't stand other people's children for more than a few hours. I can't imagine 24/7. I love kids, which is why I won't be having any unless I'm in a position to take care of them properly. As a former child from an unstable home, emotionally as well as monetary, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope that your future children will learn to appreciate this. I have zero interest in being pregnant or giving birth. It honestly sounds awful to me. I enjoy my alone time and my freedom to do whatever, whenever. My sisters both have recently had children, and when they mention going to the grocery store and how much they have to do before going since they've had a baby, and I just have no interest in taking the time to do all those things. I have been called selfish because of it, but I like to think of it as I know what I want, and if I am not willing to do that, why make myself potentially miserable and not enjoy doing that stuff with my child? I do love my nieces more than anything, but it's just not something I want. I have no interest in teaching them how to talk or take them to school and any sports games when they would start playing. I like my time. I can't wait to travel and have the financial freedom when I start my career. I already feel fulfilled in life, and I know I will still feel that way as time goes on without kids. I'll just be the cool aunt. I don't have the patience to deal with a kid all the time. Don't get me wrong, kids are amazing, but when they're someone else's and not when I'm the one responsible for educating them and making them into decent people. My lot in life is to be the fun uncle, not a father. Couldn't agree more. I don't want to say I'm not a responsible person, but I assure you I don't have the time and energy to take on the responsibility a child requires, which is a lot. The only reason I'm a responsible person is because I know my limits. My cat is very well taken care of. I couldn't even handle a dog, much less a kid. I always feel like this question is phrased backwards. What's the compelling reason for me to have kids? Exactly. Why do I have to explain why I opted out of having kids instead of people having to explain why they opted in? Seems like creating a human life should have the robust list of reasons behind it rather than not doing so. With the ongoing situation, I think you actually have point. We do need a reason to consider having children, and they are not giving us any. I don't want them. I like having my free time and extra money so I can enjoy my hobbies and take care of my mental health. I think if I had kids I'd be miserable, and it's not fair to put children in that situation. I know I'd try my best, but don't think I'd make a good parent and have never had the desire to have any. Probably for the best. I've had severe depression in COVID times. It took me a long time to get my shit together. I was actually surprised how long it takes to get over mental illnesses and personal issues. It was an eye-opener for me. Currently my reason to have kids is that I think I'd be a better parent than my parents were. I don't think that's a good reason to have kids. I have to truly want them. Loads of people have children to heal their child wounds. Children are not therapists though. They're their own people with their own wants and needs. I feel like having them to heal some childhood trauma wounds is probably not the healthiest to take. I can't have them. I have PCOS, which greatly affects my ability to conceive and also greatly increases my risk of miscarriage as well. The meds I'm on for the PCOS could also possibly affect the development of a baby. My mother also had a history of undiagnosed PCOS, and she suffered from infertility and miscarriages, which in turn also increases my risk of experiencing the same issues. And if I have a daughter, they would also likely develop PCOS themselves. I grew up poor and abused at the hands of my violent, narcissistic mother, and I am now mentally and physically disabled as a result. I would not wish it on any child to go through what I went through, and not children is my way of breaking the cycle. I just don't really like being around children. I don't feel comfortable around them due to my own personal issues, and I just can't relate to kids. I don't find human babies adorable, and I have no urge to reproduce and have children of my own. I'll just stick with my kitties and be the crazy cat lady instead. I'm barely healthy enough to be in a romantic relationship. Kids cost too much money. I recognize that there was a term that describes my philosophical position about having biological kids, antinatalism, and back to point number 1. Kids deserve to be raised in environments where they can get a lot of support. The best decision I can make as a parent is not having kids. Would I make a decent parent? On my best days, absolutely. But being a parent means being a parent all the time. It's like a 24/7 job. And while no parent is perfect, some parents are better than others. If I needed to, could I step up and help? Of course. Our children are our future. But, I also believe that anyone on the fence about being a parent shouldn't be one. And a child needs a parent that can do more than simply occasionally step up. My ex-wife had an IUD, so the topic of a vasectomy never came up. Haven't had the sex life or financial resources since my divorce to get one.